Good evening and welcome to the Poetry of Justice show with Jackie Ray Phillips here on YikesRadio.com. Here on the Poetry of Justice show, this is where social consciousness meets the arts. And what we do is we select topics that spark the interest and awareness of social diversity ranging from arts, entertainment, and social justice at large, leaving our audience listening and thinking and saying in unison, guys, YikesRadio.com, awesome sauce. Now this is where on the show, guys, we do some respect and homage to our sponsorship, which is Gingy Productions and Entertainment Company, Miss Lori Ray Fisher. We also give a shout out to APS Muscle Cars Incorporated and WMPJ Steelworks Incorporated. I did a little ad piece here and there. I messed up. I only put WMPJ Steel. And then I had the nerve to put company. Hold on, I got you. This is for you, Jerome. Thanks, radio. You want to take that one? And then, Jay, you got the one on the end, okay? Coolness. I guess not. But anyway, video. So anyway, yeah, that looks great. Yay. And I messed around and I forgot and I neglected. I just said whatever. You caught it. No, it's incorporated. I respect.
Gotta get it right.
I know. So anyway, here tonight, guys, we have a pretty interesting, heavy topic. So I've got Mr. Eric G. Fisher in the house, and we're going to be talking about brotherhood. It's a brotherhood. And Eric, this is your third time on this on the show?
Second.
It's your
Second time.
Oh, okay. Oh, normally because you're on the call-in, so that's what you are.
I'm a caller, I'm a
You're
stalker.
raised, you're like now, yay. But anyway, I appreciate you coming not only 2 hours from Fontana, but shucks, you flew all the way in from Arizona to get us here. So to get here to the show, so we really, really do appreciate that. And then I also would love to welcome the Mr. Jerome Rucker. Hello, Jerome, how are you?
Hello, good, very good.
Awesome. Jerome, we had the pleasure and the blessing to have you on the show before as well in the capacity of a phone-in, and you were very passionate. What, do you recall the topic we were speaking about that night, Jerome?
We talked about a lot, but I know one of the things was we talked about men speaking to men, black men speaking to each other, and kind of the gap we have sometimes in communication.
And that's, I think, what preempted this particular show, if correct, Mr. Fisher. And then, of course, we I have Jeremiah O'Brien returning to the station tonight. How you doing? So we're going to be talking about some brotherhood. Mr. Fisher, let's go into it. I'm just kind of really low-key. I'm going to, navigate a lot of this to you.
What?
Yeah.
Well, let me sit in your chair. No.
Okay.
No.
You already know how you do it.
No.
Brotherhood, what does that mean to you when you hear that?
And I think it goes back to, me and Jerome have a very interesting relationship. We've been neighbors now for about 4 years, 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
And, when you look at the definition, everybody knows it's fraternal order, it's this, that, and the other. But really, it's a state of mind. And I was talking to Jerome, and I said, what would be some good topics we could talk about? And the first thing came to his mind was brotherhood, and that's the first thing I was thinking about too. And I think it's because of the connection that we have, not because we're just black men, but because we're men. And we're using that as a platform to be able to mentor one another. Yes, I'm older, but you know what, he has a lot of good ideas and a lot of good thoughts. And we use that to leverage each other. And then it's interesting, God works in a lot of mysterious ways.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Jeremiah, and I'm saying this today, and I'm saying, man, when I see Jeremiah, it's like a brother. It's not, he's white, I'm black, but it's not that. It's a state of mind.
Right.
And the consciousness that you always talk about in your shows is that we connect on so many other levels.
Eric, I'm thinking of what was the other word, third word you gave me, and ships.
Oh, mentorship?
Men, and then
Mentorship.
the word men, the word tour, the word ship.
Yeah.
Talk about those three individually.
Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm relying on my brother Jerome, because he actually sent that other topic. And me and him mentor each other,
Okay.
but when he sent that, we were like, wow. And I want him to go ahead and just dig a little deeper on it.
Okay.
Well, this could be for men or women, but I broke the word down, the beginning of 2019, mentorships, it just hit me one morning, so it was, could be men or women, and then you break it up into tour, T-O-U-R. So if someone takes you on a tour, they're showing you around, they're giving you the lay of the land, and they're giving you advice on, okay, this is what this is what that is. And then the ship, I put, is if you go on a ship, you're having a good time, but oftentimes you're there with other people. So you think of a Carnival cruise, you're there with other people, enjoying something. So I broke it down to men or women tour ships. It takes someone that has patience, to give time to invest in you, to say this is what you might want to look at, and then also give you the comfort of kind of like a good time. So I think mentorships involves relationship, and it also involves some wisdom and showing people what to do.
All right. What do you think about that, Jeremiah? When you think of the word mentorships?
I'm actually gonna move over
Yeah,
here
okay.
so that way I'm not in the way of the camera here. So mentorships. The first thing that comes to my mind is that we don't get there alone, that we need a lot of help, everybody does. And I think I was talking with a friend about this earlier this week and I think even yesterday too, about how my definition of what a man is, or what I think a man is, and the different principles and the different core values that a person or that a man has creates character, or creates his character, and kind of what are those, and what, how to facilitate that in a person, or in a young person, because I think that there's, I think it's lacking, I think it's been lacking for a long time, like we don't teach ethics in school, we don't teach, there's a lot of stuff we don't teach, right? And so I'm just how does one get learn these core values or principles that they could then have a character that they would be proud of. And I think that mentors can give you that, but they can also give you the right relationships that can open doors for you too. I think everybody needs mentors, but young men definitely need mentors, especially if you're on the downside of advantages. I think like you gotta have people that are gonna pull you up, you have to.
Absolutely. I have a question for you, Trump. There's a couple things that I always ask us that come on when I think about it, but you just like to think about it. What does the word justice mean to you?
Justice is putting things right, making sure that there's not oppression, making sure that the people that are involved in a society or a group are treated fairly, with equity, and making sure that if there were wrongs committed, that those wrongs are rectified and there's restorative justice, or okay, that word,
Right.
restoration.
Right. Eric, what about you?
Ooh.
Justice.
Just us, it's just
Right.
us. No, and it's something we were talking about today when we were driving down. When you think about justice and diversity and equality, it's making sure that you do have that voice or that ability to be on the same level playing field as others. Not letting race define who you are, letting your social justice,
Right.
being able to uplift you and be able to say, here I am, right? And that, I think, a lot of this has to do with your show, giving us the voice and the opportunity to reach those that aren't hearing these things.
Right.
Mm.
Jeremiah, justice.
Justice, in a word, balance, I think, and in two words, I think it's fairness and balance. That there is this level playing field for everybody, and that we all have access to the same resources, the same quality resources, of all kinds, from housing to education to jobs to all the different resources, and so then that permeates, it's like gravity, you know, it's everywhere, and it should be.
Well, and that's a key point. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, it's just the word you just said, access,
Mhm.
right? And it's kind of almost like what we're talking about, brotherhood,
Mhm.
mentorship. That gives you that access,
Mhm.
because that's knowledge and wisdom
Mhm.
that you might not have had before, right? So it's giving you that access to, hey, I'm gonna give you some information. Now, the question becomes, are brothers willing to hear it, right?
Right.
So you're giving them the doorway, you're giving them the access, like we talked about. Are you gonna do something with that information?
Yeah.
And this is kind of what our other topic was about, or is it a dream killer?
Right.
Because, you know, think about it, we've been in barbershops before, and you're sitting there and you're talking about what you're gonna do, and the barber starts shooting you down, but maybe he's not shooting you down.
Mhm.
Maybe he's telling you from experience.
Mhm.
Maybe he's trying to tell you what the pitfalls are gonna be. So is that gonna kill your dream, or is that gonna give you knowledge? It's a catch-22. It could be, go ahead.
No, you agree. You know what it takes me to, Eric, is the O.J. Simpson trial. And when Christopher Darden and the Johnny Cochran dichotomy, and often tell, you know, Johnny was Johnny.
Right.
And
Right.
to a point where when Johnny was telling Darden something, Darden is like, is he really just fucking with me?
Or is he
Or
trying to-
is this like really
him
like
trying
trying to just like put a brother on, you know?
Right.
And his daddy had to tell him, you know, because he was psychoanalyzing, well, Johnny said this, and his daddy was like, did it ever occur to you that maybe he just trying to give you some good advice, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that made me think of it, you know.
Right, and that's what we
like,
talked about, that's that dream killer potential, right? It could knock you down, but it could be just enough information to say, don't take that road, maybe this is the road to take.
And dream, I think, for me, is the key right there too, because we all should have one, you know.
Mhm.
And if you don't, go get one, right? Because it gives you a goal, it gives you drive, it gives you purpose, you know, it gives you a lot of different things. And if there's someone who's willing to take their time, which is, for anybody who's listening, hopefully this resonates with you, that the time is the precious resource that you can never get back. You can make more
That's what
money.
you say all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think if someone's gonna take their time with you, then you better listen, because whether you believe in God or the universe or love or whatever it is, there's something that's been sent to you. And there's this famous poet, Rumi. He says every experience is like a guest that's knocking on your door, and he calls it the guest house. And he says, so invite everyone in, even if this is wrath, pain, sorrow, happiness, joy, let them all in, and let them sweep your house of all of your belongings, because every traveler has been sent as a guide from beyond. That they're there to teach you something, whatever it is. And if it's a dream and someone's telling you, hey, these are the different obstacles, well, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it, you know?
Right, no, true.
Very true. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, I was just agreeing.
Okay, Eric, did you wanna go further with some, or did you want me to pull up some questions?
Go ahead.
I want you to go ahead.
No, you know, it's, you know, it's interesting, I started doing my homework like you do, I was going to the internet, looking at definitions, and I'm looking and I'm like, who wrote this, right? You know, this is somebody's technical view from a tech book.
Right.
And I'm saying, this is not it. And when I look at brotherhood, it's, again, I come back to so many different things. Like we were talking about, the proverbial head nod, right? It's nuts. Again, you don't have to be black, white, you know what? If you see somebody and you acknowledge them, respect them, you know what? You do give them a head nod. You know, most people put their head down in the sand and don't wanna make eye contact with you at all. But what are you gonna perceive that as, cause for us, as black men, we were talking about this earlier, when people see us, the first thing they think of is threat, versus being able to say, wow, you know, how you doing today? And maybe, you know, say, you just nod your head to like, hey, I'm acknowledging you today.
Right.
You know, again, that goes to that whole state of mind.
Yeah.
What state of mind are you in today? And
Right.
it shouldn't matter what's happening out there today. What's happening right now is us two right here walking in front of each other.
Right.
You know what? You're gonna respect me, I'm gonna respect you. And you know what? If we happen to collide, Hey, it was an accident.
Right.
But maybe it wasn't because we had our head down.
Sure,
Right.
yeah.
When you had your head down, what were you gonna say, Jay?
I was thinking that brotherhood is also a shorthand. You know, a shorthand of intimacy. You know, like there's different kinds of relationships with different definitions of love, and so you know, there's that brotherly love, right? Like, and that you would do, you know, anything for a brother, and then there's that shorthand, that kind of like shorthand knowledge that you have with this person. That it's not like we shake hands like this. No, it's like one of these, you know,
Right.
Well, you don't even have to finish the sentence because, like, you just like I was just explaining, and you're like, yeah, right, you know, because you already know it, and I think that's part of a brotherhood too, especially if you've known somebody for years, you know.
I like the word intimacy. I was thinking about how mentorship, being mentored by someone, kind of first have to submit yourself. And so men don't naturally have that. We have this huge super ego, and it's developed and it's perpetuated through the media that men are, you know, somewhat prideful, and I'll figure it out. When I got married, the first 2 years of marriage, I was amazed at how much my wife spoke to her friends. I was like, wow, she's always getting so much good insights from her friends, but it's all helpful. And I realized at that moment that I don't utilize my relationships enough. I think that one phone call is enough when it's okay to talk and share and say, help me. So mentorship, first you have to submit yourself, and that does require intimacy, a level of trust of someone else to take care of you in a vulnerable state, because you're saying, hey, I don't know. Can you show me? Will you not take this for granted? So I like that you said intimacy, because you have to submit to get intimacy to form mentorship.
Well, and hopefully it's a two-way street, right? That each person is submitting in their own way, because like
Yes.
the best teachers me, I teach, and so I no doubt
Yes.
you know this as well, that like I learn more from them than they probably learn from me. I mean, I learn all the
Absolutely.
time from them, and so I think that it should be a two-way street, and I think yeah, that's what I think.
I was gonna ask Jerome, let's meet it up a tad. What happens when when an individual does, and betrayal happens? When you do provide that, you know, okay, you know what, I'm gonna trust this, but I'm gonna go in on the intimacy thing.
Well, this is really,
And they betray that.
this is really deep and personal to me. I think a lot of times, I know with men or even in the black community, oftentimes you can find situations of people feeling hurt or misused in our churches with pastors. So this is not a knock on pastors, this is not a knock on ministry, but this is where you often see where men kind of get jaded from submitting themselves and letting themselves be mentored. I think what happens is there's a time of trauma, you know, emotional trauma, particularly if you've had it in your life. And then you go from that to anger, and then you go from that you know, fleeing and running and staying away from that. So you never would do it. I had a situation in my own life where I felt let down by someone I really respected in the ministry. It took me years to get over it, but it was a great experience because I realized that even as a person that was mentored, having a mentee or excuse me, someone that was a mentee, having a mentor doesn't mean they're perfect.
Got it.
And you have to go into it saying, they're helping me in this one area, but they're not a catch-all for everything in life.
Right.
They're not without flaws, and you know, you have to accept that they're giving you advice in one area,
Yes.
but that doesn't mean that they got it all together in the other.
So
true.
That
So
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, I can give countless examples on that, but yeah, absolutely. I've had a number of different mentors that have led me down in different ways where, you know, when I was a younger person where I didn't have that perspective of oh, okay, you're great in these areas, but they're not in these other areas, and that sucks when you learn that lesson. But you're better for it, you know, and I think you develop more compassion, more empathy, understanding, and it's also taught me what not to be, you know what I mean? You know, like this is what I can show, and this is what I'm good at, and this is what I'm not good at, and this is what I can mentor you on, but please don't ask me about this over here, you know? Yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, because you gotta get to a point too, if you are that mentor to someone, and if you tell them 20 times and they don't use any of the 20 ideas you give them, you can't get angry about it. It's because, again, maybe it's something they're not choosing to use right now. You know, because I think about that. I talk to a lot of people now. You know, they come and seek advice, and you ask them how to go, and they say, well, I haven't got to it yet.
Right,
You can't get mad about it.
right.
You just, you know what? It is what it is. You've given them the advice, you're hoping that they've taken it and used it. You know, like we talk about all the time between ourselves. You know, things he's told me, I've used them. Things I've told him, he's used them. And they've benefited us.
Right.
You know, because again, we were receptive to hearing information.
And I've also, sorry, take two. I've looked at it also as a choice as well, and sometimes that gives me a bit of a greater ability of acceptance of that they're not taking this information or they can't implement it. Because sometimes it's ability too, you know, like sometimes, you know, they just don't have the awareness, or some lessons are just experiential and they just gotta go through it, you know. And unfortunately, sometimes that's the case for all of us, you know. You'll explain something to someone and they're like, yeah, I understand it conceptually or intellectually, but you know, then you get it into your body and you're like, oh, dang, I really understand that now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome, sauce stuff here, guys.
I'm sorry.
You go.
No. I was just gonna say one thing, and I think for our listeners out there, you know, we were talking about this as well, we talk a lot. You know, but we're talking about this among the guys here, but this is strong in the women's community too. You know what? The sisterhood is just as strong, you can be just as strong. If you know, especially for you young sisters out there listening, you know what, find a mentee. You know what, really work, take that opportunity to learn. Because again, you know, our parents have always told us, we've lived a lot of things that you're gonna be living through, and they're telling us all these things, and we're saying, okay, we hear you. And then all of a sudden you're like, dang, they told me that, right? But it's the same thing. You know what, young sisters, listen to them. They have a lot of information that they're willing to share. If they're willing to share, just listen. Doesn't cost you anything.
And something that you said that I think is powerful to anybody that hears this is, it's okay to ask someone to, will you mentor me?
Yeah.
I'm 43 years old, so this happened probably 6 months ago. But Eric actually showed me, he actually sat down and explained to me how you find a mentor. I never knew how to find a mentor. He laid out what you need to say. Explain to them the frequency. No one wants to have someone in their face every day. No one wants, you're not asking to be a disciple, you're asking to be mentored by someone. So say, hey, can we set this up quarterly? When would you like to schedule these meetings so they know their obligation level won't be extreme?
Correct.
And so he taught me how to find a mentor, as well as my wife. She said, yes, you have to do this. And so I would say that if wherever field you in, I'm in education, you have to find mentors, because it can make the difference between you achieving your dreams and you saying I was that close. So for me personally, you know, thank the mentorship of Eric, the mentorship of his amazing Dean Fisher wife. You know, I'm at USC because of them, because it took mentorship. I had to listen, I had to sit down and be quiet and literally just step out in faith and take their advice.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Absolutely, I was just thinking that as you said that. I was thinking of, this is an example with Shonda Rhimes. There's an example with that lady that they made the movie Devil Wears Prada. She's that big editorial lady, whatever. Yeah, there was this story about the first African-American female editor of, I forget, Teen Vogue magazine. I'm probably messing it up right now, but you know, she told her story and she was like, yeah, I wrote her a letter like 10 times, but I wrote her a letter and then ultimately she took me on as a mentee. You know, and so yeah, you just gotta ask. Those men don't get fed.
That part,
That's so
okay,
true.
absolutely. What about community? How does that work into brotherhood?
Ooh.
The word community.
Ooh.
Handle number.
You know, Jerome had just talked about the church, you know, about how, you know, again, they are just people. And it's the same thing in the community, you know, it's, you know, how many of our community leaders have we seen, you know, out there talking about a subject or a topic and living something totally different, but again, they're just people. But doesn't mean they don't have good advice, doesn't mean they have, you know, because some of them do. They know how to tell you how to navigate the politics, they tell you how to navigate, you know, the system that has been built in order to keep us separated, and only to benefit others.
Right.
So again, I mean, use them as that opportunity to learn certain things. And I say, even within our communities for ourselves, it's up to us to make sure that we're, like I talked on your last show, just grab one.
Right.
You know what, just grab one, you know, and there's a big opportunity for that, for us to just, you know, find, you know, Jerome is in the school system, you know what, I'm sure he has a lot of kids that he gets a chance to say, you know what, put your best foot forward. You know what, if you say that to 10 people and you grab one,
I know.
you know what, that's a blessing. And I think we should just do it in our everyday life. You know what, treat those as you wanna be treated.
Yeah, and lead by example,
Right.
and, right, like, cause you're mentoring by example. I think what Nelson Mandela said that's the best form of leadership is by example. So you're just being it, you know, that you are actively in your community by being the person that you want to be, mentoring people around you just from their observation of you and your actions, right? I think also, you never know what valuable information you're gonna get from a mentor, you know, right? And so when we talk about community and we're talking about like the church, it reminded me of the word communion, right? Communion, that we have a communion with one another, that there is this call and response, even on an individual level, right, which we would call a conversation, but there is this connection to individuals that we require. We need it as social animals, as social, you know, beings, human beings. We need connection with other people, and so by virtue of just having families and requiring connection, we create community automatically. And so it made me think, well, you never know what piece of information you're gonna get that's just, it's gonna be critical, and it's going to drop when it needs to drop, and you're gonna get that right opportunity right when you need it, right when you're at the lowest point, you think it can't get better, right? Something's gonna come in, and because you had that information, or you had that one line, or whatever it was. I'm reminded of, Gil Cates told me, Gil Cates was a professor at UCLA, don't hold it against me, everybody. But he taught film, and he was the producer of the Academy Awards for like 12 years, you know, for like over a dozen years. And he told me once in class, he was like, Jeremiah, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Always make a great first impression. And it just stuck with me, you know, like to be early is to be on time. So whatever it is, you lead with these maxims, and they're maxims for a reason, you know, and you're gonna need it at some point in your life, you know.
I have a good friend named Brian Rubin, and he taught me something. He said that mentorship takes place out of the home. And so I thought that was profound, because a lot of times parents think, well, I got a country, I'm a great parent. But the reality is mentorship has to take place out of the home. That's beyond your parent. And so a lot of our young people don't have that. And for anybody that's listening to this, please understand something that's so crucial. The placement of what you say is everything. When you say what you say could impact the situation for the better or for the worse. Me being 43 in the 90s, if an older person, I say older, someone in their 40s and 50s came up to my car and said, turn your music down, it's too loud, because back in my day we had the thumping, right, with the bass. That turns me off. Guess what, I'm not listening to nothing you say because of how you approach it.
Right.
So, but if you would have said, hey, what are you listening to, with a smile, I would have engaged in a conversation. And then if you would have said, hey, guess what, we over here, we having prayer meeting or whatever's going on, you mind turning that down, bro? Yeah. It's a totally different conversation. Now I see people my age, they walk up to the young people and they say, you guys need to pull your pants up. Well, guess what? None of those kids are gonna want to be around you or listen to you because of the placement of your information. Yeah. So if you then could say, hey, good morning, how you guys doing? Man, I just wanna say you guys look handsome today. Or you guys, you know, you young ladies look beautiful today. And then create that dialogue, that back and forth, hit the tennis ball back. Then in the placement you can say, you know what, you're so beautiful, young lady. Hey, next time, don't show everybody what you got. You're beautiful without that. Or young man, hey, listen, I'm gonna you ever had a soup? Let me take you to buy a soup. You can put the same information, but it's the placement, as we know when we're cooking, right? Mm-hmm. It's the placement of the ingredients. If you put certain things in too early, you don't have the peach cobbler.
Yeah. I have an example of the sagging, my personal example, because when I was a youngster, I used to sag. It was the '90s, you know, and this OG at MLK Park in Long Beach just came up to me, just like, hey, and I was like, you know, whatever, we're gonna go back and forth, because I knew who he was. He went by Big Dog, anyways, and he said to me, he's like, hey, you know why sagging became popular, and he told me the whole epistemology of sagging. He's like, yeah, independent meant that you were available. And I was like, oh, dang, pull it up real quick. The quickness, yeah. I still wore baggy pants, but I just pulled it up real quick. And so that placement, and he knew what was going to resonate with me, you know, placed it just right, like, oh, don't, all right, thank you very much for that, all right. And that worked for me.
Note to self.
And that worked for me at the time.
No more sagging.
That worked for me at the time, yeah.
What about the word culture, Mr. Fisher? What does that word bring to you?
Well, again, something we were talking about today or today as well. I think it's, you know.
You guys were looking on my cheat sheet.
No, we
We're in
were.
the zone.
No, we were
See,
just,
Jeremiah.
we were brainstorming. But we were really talking about life, and we were just talking about how we've had to assimilate,
Oh.
right, versus them assimilating to us. We've had to assimilate to them, and when I say them, we know who them is.
What about the tan in the can? Does that count for assimilating that? Because some of the people I know, she said that she wanted to look more darker.
Yeah.
Usually, sometimes we're lightning cream,
Mm-hmm.
right? Assimilation, right?
Right, no,
Just wanted to splash
No,
that down
it's true.
plain.
and it's like, again, we're all the same.
Yeah.
And we're just people, and you know what, we want respect, you want respect. You know, we talked about getting on an elevator, you know, when you get on an elevator, you know, everybody's got their head down, especially if it's a male, black male, right? Sometimes we choose not to take that ride if it's just
Right.
one female.
It's not even worth it.
Because it's not even worth
It's not
the
even-
aggravation that's about to come, you know, I was fearful for my life.
Exactly.
But maybe I was fearful for mine.
Right, you better be.
Hey, you know,
Yeah.
but again, why even put myself in that situation? But you know, again, it's culture. You had some very good speakers on the last meal that you had, and they were talking about strong black women,
Okay.
right? And they were talking about why they became so strong,
Yes.
right? And it's because of the culture. They had to take the lead role as slave women
Yeah.
because the men were sold off because they didn't want us there. They wanted to break our families,
Yeah.
right? So when you think about all those things, it's everything we do.
And this is like a legacy what we're living, it's like we're living that legacy, that backlash, if you will.
Mhm.
It's just pretty wild when you look at the world.
It's intense, you know, how can you erase hundreds of years of systematic, pain. Yeah.
And sorrow.
Yeah, and it's just manifests in different form, right, slavery to Jim Crow to incarceration to school to prison pipeline to, you know, right, like it's all,
Now
it's
the
all
detention centers.
for profit, right? You know, why is the prison system on the stock market anyways, right? That's
Right.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I digress, right?
No,
But-
No, but
it's real
but
deal.
that's why brotherhood, mentorship
It's real.
Mhm.
is so important.
Yeah.
Because you know what, we gotta try to reach one. You know what, to make sure that they reach one and they reach one, and then you know what? Prisons won't be open, because there won't be anybody put there.
Mhm.
You know what, we'll all be successful.
Right,
People will stop seeing color,
right,
hopefully,
right.
you know, because no matter how much money you make, believe me, you're still not equal.
Mhm.
You'll never be.
It reminds me of a book, Cornel West. I was watching an interview with him today, and he's talking about his book, Race Matters.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
I
great
had to
book.
study that, yeah.
Yeah, great book,
Yeah, I
right?
see.
But he, you know,
I love his
it
work.
matters, right? It
It
is,
absolutely does.
it's bullshit, sorry, can I say that on the air?
Yes.
Right, it's a construction, right, and culture is different, and that's created by, you know, the communities, right? Like different cultures in the world have different kinds of food and different languages spoken and different norms and mores and social systems, but but it's all constructed, right? And so, yeah, if it can be constructed, it can be deconstructed and then reconstructed, for sure, yeah.
I like that. Reconstructed and
What do you think, Joe?
Yes,
I'm
please.
just thinking agency, you know, as a person who, my dad was a Korean War veteran, and my family's from Arkansas, we were generational sharecroppers. It can become overwhelming if you look at all of the stuff that sometimes may be against you. But I think that if we can just encourage people of all ages to have agency and to reach out to others. I can do nothing about what happened 50 years ago, let alone 5 minutes ago. But what I can do is move forward and prepare myself to create and change the atmosphere and the culture of everywhere I'm at.
Right.
So culture, a lot of times you see it, particularly in public school system, what they say is, you know, we celebrate everyone's culture. That's not true. What they do is tolerate. But I think every single person in the room, we can actually celebrate them, but we have to first make sure that the young people know who they are. If I know who I am, I can love myself and love this gentleman over here that's Irish, and this young lady over here that's Asian, and hear about all her culture. So I think for as culture, if you really want to create strong culture, you got to get people to understand who they are, whichever their cultures are, and create agency. Because if agency is available and they have the freedom to speak up and to try new things and to get mentored, I think you cannot erase what happened, but you can take a large step towards moving forward toward the future what they want to have.
You know what, Jerome, my mind is going to when you called into the show and you were speaking quite passionately. I don't remember what the show title was,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking about it with culture with regard to the young black girls on campus and how the black girls are being treated. And can you go into
I'm
that?
passionate. We must protect black women at all costs. The reason why is because black women get treated the worst. I've been so many places, and the bottom line is black women are treated the worst in the world. And so, you know, it bothers me when we go to other countries and we gotta defend all these people, but we treat black women so terrible in America. They're the crescent, they're the crescent of our community. And so as far as our young black women now, there's just a lot of confusion. We're talking about being ethnically ambiguous. And so I had a talk with a friend of mine, and we were talking about how it's okay to be urban. It's okay to be, you look like you have some type of African features, perhaps, but you don't know what they are. And so what you see on TV is a lot of women that are ethnically ambiguous. They have full lips. They definitely have a big butt now, but they don't have, for sure, you can't tell if they're black. They look like they could be biracial. So it sends an image, it sends a message, and I don't know if, I don't even want to say it's on purpose, but it's damaging to our black girls. So whether it's on purpose or not, it's damaging. And then at the high school level, hitting home, I'm okay if people, you know, I have several people in my family that are interracially married. Love it. I love it. Okay? But when I see that the majority at the high school level, the majority of black males at the high school level in the area of California where I live are just saying, black girls, for what?
Wow.
I don't want that. And they want to go date other girls because the stereotype or the message is that black girls are drama and they're no good. That's like lowering the value below the floor of young black girls who have it going on, intelligent, talented. So I think within the manhood circle, regardless of, you know, what ethnicity you are, I think human beings should protect black women. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, black girls are in major trouble now because if you look on social media, you know, I never thought there would be a time where women take pictures and they turn around to take the picture forward because all they want you to see is their butt. And so it's like, well, what happened? So I'm very concerned about the image of us, of our black girls. And our black girls are 100% so loyal. I've never seen a group of human beings be so loyal to a community. Black girls want to marry black boys, period, for the most part. And yet they go through all these menageries of trying to date and eventually marry black men, and it's just, you know, out here in California, it's very difficult, very difficult.
Wow, I know, you told us, I appreciate
Yeah.
that. I mean, but that stuck with me, because we have to make a difference, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know, obviously. Thank you so much, Jerome. What were you thinking about that, Jeremiah?
I was thinking about, when you said we have to protect black girls, black women, I was thinking about what happened most recently with the quote-unquote squad in Congress, you know, and how the person that's occupying the White House right now told them to go back to where they're from. And they're from freaking America, you know, they're from the United States, you know, but like that kind of,
Crazy.
yeah, that kind of crazy, that kind of unbridled bullshit, that permission to be violent and to be negative and to be abusive and racist. It's from the highest office in the land, you know, in the world, really, and it gives permission to put this community, the community of black women and black girls at risk. And so I just, that's what I thought of immediately, and I just hope everybody goes out and votes, you know, just wherever you are in the world, go out and vote and, you know, make your community better, protect the people that should be protected, yeah.
It's wild, it's absolutely wild and crazy. But, what are you thinking, Mr. Fisher?
I'm an overload.
You're overloaded,
No,
so much
But this is good stuff. This is good
information.
stuff.
Anyway, I was just gonna ask you guys a question. You know, I always wanna ask a question, because I'm always trying. How brotherhood is sure you wanting to go tonight, Mr. Fisher? What happens when the person is the dream killer and not the brother's keeper? I think we should go through the panel and talk about experiences when the person
That's
is
hard.
the dream killer. I know we've all encountered
Yes.
someone
Oh,
in your
man.
past
Killed that dream.
Hey,
when you was just ready and they just
Jeremiah
came with
coming right
all the
Reason
vaccine
why not.
and everything, you know,
yeah,
and
that's
you just
usually the
like,
closest person to you. You're like,
that's
wait,
why
are you
nobody
supposed to
tell,
be
everybody
my
can't
best
tell the
friend?
story.
Yeah.
I would say that, what me and Eric were talking about is there's a difference between someone who's giving you hearty advice that might be a little difficult to swallow versus someone who is trying to kill your dream. So as I've gotten older, I've been more made aware of gatekeepers. So in this world now, we do have people that are unbeknownst to themselves, they are gatekeepers, meaning that they are maybe the one of. So they might be the one Asian person that's in an organization. They might be the one female that's risen up to a certain level. In my case, since I'm a black male, I've run into, it's usually a generational gap of about 20 years, gatekeepers that are black males. So what they do is, instead of you have an opportunity to get there, they're gonna decide if you're worthy enough to get to a certain point.
Wow.
So that's what I call dream killers, people that have position, authority, influence, the ability to help others, and they decide if you're good enough. And so that's an old way of thinking. It's almost like the Django, I forgot the character, that when, you know, Samuel L. Jackson played when Jamie Foxx rolled up.
Oh, yeah.
But the gatekeepers that we have are the dream killers. It's the people that have just a little bit of experience, a little bit of influence, and yet they're able to say, well, you're not gonna make it because you didn't do it like me. And so that's what I consider dream killers, people that look at your dream, and because it's not like theirs, because maybe you might have a little bit more courage, a little bit more creativity than they had, deem it not good enough to make it.
Now, can that kind of behavior hinder an individual from wanting to be brotherhoodish? Because it's like, if I really tell what I really wanna do to attain this person's advice, are they gonna do me like Michael Jackson did Paul McCartney? When he was just talking and he didn't know Michael was the mother, you know what? And Michael was a cold player, he didn't know that. He was just, you know, Mike, I think I'm gonna buy the rights too. I hear that. Mike in the cut. Alright. As soon as Paul left,
I think I want
Boom.
all of those.
Right? So at what point are you like, damn, can I really tell this when you stick me for my paper? Damn, somebody, what point?
Well, you know, and that's so true. How many times have you known somebody that you can't give them all your ingredients because you know what? They're gonna go out and make that cake before you.
You already know, you already
know
know.
it's coming.
So what do? You just
You know.
give just them a teeter-totter, he's like, wow.
Well, yeah, well, because if it's your dream, and let's say it is your dream, and then we can talk about if it's not your dream, and it's just something that you're proud of, right? But if it's your dream, you know, that's vulnerable, right? That you got to protect that, right, at all costs, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, there's so many obstacles out there in the world just anyway, you know what I mean? And someone's throwing obstacles in front of you too, that's supposed to be like connected to you and care for you, and like, then I'm of a mind that, you know, you gotta protect yourself. You gotta protect. You can still love that person. You can love that person, and they don't even have to be in your life. You know what I mean?
True.
You can love that
Yes.
person. They can be in your life, or you can love the person they're not in your life.
I like
And,
the latter.
you know, well, you know, it just depends on how damaging they are to your progress. Because if you. You know, love is a verb. You gotta show it, and you can tell me you love me all day long, or you can, you know, or you can just show it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather you just do things that prove that. And then if it's not your dream and it's something that you're proud of, and it's like I have this in my life. My friend who I've grown up with since I was 11 years old, and he had been throughout my life, and through going to college and creating a business and like. And doing different things and very negative about it, and I don't know if I'd go so far as to say that he was able to throw up obstacles. I was able to see them, but it was disappointing every time that it happened. In so much as I was just like, all right, I'm not going to share that stuff with you,
Right.
you know. And I know that he doesn't have the capability to go out and like make that happen for himself with my, you know, my idea or my information, but still the lack of support or the active trying to tear it down. And I'm just like, all right, well, you know, then you can't have this information, which sucks because we could connect over this, you know. It sucks because I could maybe offer you a job and you'd be doing way better than you are right now. You know, that sucks, that you would be that closed off, and that you might be that, and I'm not gonna go so far as to say jealous, because some people will use that as like as an explanation. Oh, well, they're just jealous. And I think sometimes that can be very dismissive. I think that many times when people are doing that, they either one, are trying to hurt you, or two, they think they're trying to help, you know? But unfortunately, I don't know if that's one of those things that you can't, that you can be told. You might have to just go through that one, you know? Because if you care about someone, you don't want to give them up so quickly. They're gonna have to hurt you probably a few times before you get rid of them, yeah.
Something me and my wife, and by the way, shout out to my wife, Lori.
Hey, shout out.
God truly sent me the right woman, because I can think of a lot of men that could never say anything that their wife and them have discussed that was meaningful. So I'm so thankful that I'm learning from her every day. But last week we were just talking about, this is what it comes down to. When you come, this is for anyone listening, when you come across people that you're sharing your dream to, and they're saying you can't do this, you can't do that. And I mean literally saying it's not gonna work, and why do this? The reason why they're doing that is because it is putting a mirror up to them. So if Eric is coming up with these awesome ideas, and I'm close to him, and I'm his same age, and I grew up on his same street, or I have his last name, and we're cousins, what is it gonna look like to me when he's excelling and I'm not? So when he's talking about these big dreams he has, and I'm talking about dreaming on the couch, and I'm talking about complaining all day, it's a big mirror that I have to look at me and say, well, if he's doing it, why am I not doing it? So instead of asking that question of yourself, I'd rather just say, Eric, your dream's not gonna work.
Wow. And that's cold too.
That's my wife. That's my wife. That's my wife.
Lord, you can recall me. Hi, Lord. Yeah, come say hi. Come say hi. She said no. Hi. How's it going? How you doing?
Yes, I would agree. agree.
You agree?
So,
What do you think about justice law with this new little thing in here? Let the word
you know, I
justice-
kind of liked what Jeremiah was saying about the balance. Like, there's got to be a level of balance in order for justice to happen, because access doesn't necessarily mean equal, doesn't necessarily mean justice. But if there's a balance, then it kind of makes things a lot more palatable.
It's true. Yay. Thank you. Thank you so much. No, but yeah, you got those dream killers, you know, the naysayers, as they say, so,
Don't listen to the naysayers.
yeah.
Yeah, you,
And
don't.
and you know what, I mean, we're living that with you, you know, I mean, how many people say you wouldn't go do this? How many people said that you weren't gonna make a book? How many people said you weren't gonna stand up and do your poetry?
I
And you proved them all wrong.
Oh my gosh, every person who's pushed the envelope in, you know, in your community, in freaking human history, we're told no. You know, Einstein was a patent clerk doing math, advanced math in his freaking garage for fun. Like, yeah, such fun, right? But anyways, that's what he was doing for fun. I mean, Helen Keller, right? She's blind and deaf. And like Ann Sullivan was just this amazing teacher, came in and taught her how to read with like writing, spelling things out in her hand. I mean, it's just phenomenal how people could tell you, no, you can't do this, when we're at the most advanced point in human civilization. You know, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it doesn't mean that it can't be done. It just means, and if it hasn't been done, then that means I'm the first person who's gonna do it.
True. You know what though, it's funny, you said, the people you were naming off, I'm like, okay. But when I sit back and I think about the African-American heroes that we've had that have been told no, and they said, no, I'm gonna climb and reach those pinnacles. They were either incarcerated or eventually had to be murdered, because you know what?
No.
If you're not gonna sit down and take the word no, we're gonna have to quiet you up. But I think that's why that mentorship is so important, because we've gotta find those people to help lift us up.
Yeah.
Because so many of our leaders that are black men, you know what, they usually end in tragedy.
Yeah.
Or they're incarcerated.
Yeah.
Even the ones that are incarcerated have been able to be somewhat of a mentor from inside that cell.
Mhm.
I was telling Jerome today, it was a blessing to see that there was a gentleman I went to school with who was incarcerated, but it didn't stop him. He became a successful chef, and I didn't even know it. It just happened. I stumbled upon somebody that sent a shout out to him on Facebook, and to see the level of commitment he's had to make sure he's giving back. You know, and making sure that those that are still incarcerated, that hey, there's something out here for you.
Right.
Just stay uplifted.
Yeah.
When you get out, we're gonna work. You know what? That's an awesome thing to know, that there's a brother that's in our community that's doing it, and giving them opportunities. You know, saying, hey, it's not over just when you get out. There's an opportunity for you.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. You all remind me of, you all are actually the embodiment of the talented tenth, like you guys are. You know, W.B. Du Bois talked about the talented tenth. 10% of the population that's so talented, that gets to a level, hopefully has access to gates, but brings everyone up, or anyone they can, you know.
The 10%.
Oh, and you know what, but it's a learning. It's learning. I mean, even, you know, when we were talking about the show, I was like, you know, Jeremiah would be good for us, because again, you know, it's just like I said, like you always tell people, if you could live in my shoes.
Yeah.
Well, brother, you've been there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're black, brother. I mean, at the end of the day,
Well,
you're not even black.
The experience.
But your experiences
The
in
experience.
life
The experience.
have been those. You know, even what you shared with us that time about you running after the hubcap scenario. You know, that,
Yeah.
dude, that's our life. I live that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To say you've been there, and we look totally different,
Right, right.
right?
Yeah.
But we're from the same side of the tracks.
That's more community, yeah.
Yep.
Community.
Yep.
You know what I mean? As opposed to the culture.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I've always, I guess I've always referred to my experience as, I was able to be immersed in a specific kind of black experience from like Compton and Long Beach, and which is a different black experience than New York or Alabama. You know, it's like a very different experience, and so, but I got to witness it as a white person, seeing it. But culturally, like, I get it, you know, culturally, like, I still go to Compton, like, every Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I was telling you about Tony the other day, I go to Tony and Gigi's house, you know, they cook food and we eat, you know, and, what's that?
Yum, yum, eat 'em
Yeah,
up.
exactly, and so, it's interesting though, you know, cause now I look like, you know, just like some random white guy, you know what I mean? I look in the mirror and I'm like, man,
Until you talk.
that's who the fuck that guy looks like an asshole, no. Yeah.
What are family values to you, Mr. Bishop?
Everything, everything, you know, I mean, it's something that's, you know, the thing Jerome talked about is really good, he said generational, it is generational. You know, I look at, you know, myself, I look at you, I look at, you know, Jerome, the foundation he's laying for his family, I look, you know, it's your family is pretty much your makeup, your genetic makeup. And you know what, well, you do have a choice though, you don't have to, you do have a choice, but mainly, you know what, hopefully, you've gotten those guiding principles for your mother, your grandmother, and so forth, and
Right.
you pass that down, you know?
What was
And-
you doing? I'm sorry.
I was thinking the same thing, that it's choice. For me, it's been a lot of choice. I had to expand my definition of family, because my blood family just didn't work out at a young age. Just, you know, it was one of those things. And so my family became this expanded definition of family. And when I lost my parents when I was young, a couple of black families took me in, you know, one in Long Beach, one in Compton, and so that became my chosen family, you know, because we're not related by any blood, but we're related by many years of experiences together, you know, and like that bond or that love, you know, is transcended, you know, DNA for me.
But you know, that's a good point though, and I think Jerome was saying it earlier too, about people being able to knock on your window and say, you know, excuse me, can you turn the music around? Well, but even then, to cross yours into it, family, I mean, how many times, you know, when we're growing up, the neighbor down the street could tell you to pull your pants up, and you know what, you listen.
Right.
Because you know what, you respected them, they respected your parents, they knew your parents, you know, because that was your extended family, who actually gave you mentorship as well. Hey, you know what, hey, don't chase that ball on the street.
Yeah.
Because the last time I seen somebody do that, they got hit by a car.
Right,
Again,
right,
that's
right.
family.
Yeah.
So to your point, it is a much wider net than just your immediate family. And it can lead you down either one or two paths as well.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Ron?
I think it's, for me, family, definition of family is definitely blood, but it's also emerging in my life. So I've always known the value of friendships, but like, I told Eric this, and I think he understood what I meant, but I'm not for sure if you do. But he came over to my house to talk to me, and we went into what's like the little man cave. And I said, man, Eric, I just want to tell you, like, every time you call me or every time we talk, man, I get excited. Like, I really look up to you. And so he might have been like, whatever. You know what I mean? But I really do look up to Eric. And my wife knows that. So family is emerging for me. It's still emerging. I have, you know, brothers that don't, you know, we're not the same ethnicity. My brother Sean Sams and David Guerra, but those are my brothers. Like, they could call me at 2 in the morning, I'll be there. And so the word family is emerging, it's ever changing. You have people that, you know, they turn the turnstile, you know, they were there, and then unfortunately, it was time for them to move on, or for me to move on. But it's ever changing, but it's emerging. My sister Joyce does a lot of lineage, family tree tracing. And so I realized that in looking at my family history last week, that I really want to establish as much as I can now. What real family is. I want to create as many meaningful traditions, not just, you know, people want to have a physical will, but you also want to have a will of love. You want to have something that's relational, that you pass on as well, and so you hopefully keep going. So it's emerging for me. I'm loving it. My wife has really expanded my understanding of family, and so it's really special to see friends and her group of friends. I'm not gonna name them all, but they're amazing. They literally are amazing, and each one of them have a little small piece of glory I see And I go, wow, that's, you know, that's why I fell in love with Lori, that little piece in her. And that, so it's emerging for me.
Awesome. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm listening to Jerome.
I know, isn't that nice? I love that.
I was also thinking that family gives you those most important things, foundational things. They give you like safety, security. Of course, they like feed you and give you love. And so they satisfy many of these needs that we require. And so I think that's for me, if I were to define family, and I would say it definitely taps into all those needs that we get met by this group of people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we need love. It's a human drive.
Yeah.
We need it. And so I think you know, when you meet someone who like just gives it, you know, just kind of automatically, you're like, oh man, can you be my family? You know.
That sounds like what it sounds like for you, Jerome.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it sounds like it's clearly a strong family there. I am also looking back to genetics. Mhm. Share a personal experience and describe, and Mr. Fisher, I want you to share a personal experience regarding genetics. For you, okay, roll with me, right? How do you feel about how genetics plays into kind of where we are now? This was a show I did back on February 28th. I'm going somewhere with this because we're talking about a brotherhood, right? Just a kinship, people bonding. So when we think about, I'm thinking like, we're talking about genetics and bad seeds. So I'm thinking, the reason why I'm saying that, you know, we go deep in what you just said, is so when we look at this person's genetics, right? Because that maybe could tell us a lot on what we really might want to do or not do in terms of mentorships, kinships. We might want to just kind of take a look at what did the other people around, like what does his big sister do? What does Auntie or Uncle Jojo, you know what I'm saying? Where do you really come from? And what do these other people, cousins, aunties, sisters, what type of behaviors, if you will, do they exhibit, which may hinder or, you know, could be clearly a decision-making factor.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think we all.
So what happens when that brother comes up to you? You know the one, Freaky Jason, when he comes.
Freaky
Jason.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I put a Lori Ray, huh?
Oh, you know, it's.
You didn't think I could do that, did you?
That's, you know, I'm gonna do like that.
You go pass.
During the hearing, so I plead the
Plead
I'm gonna invoke executive privilege.
Executive privilege. I'm not gonna attend.
I have something on that.
Jerome.
There's a book I was gonna write. I never wrote it. So if anybody wants to
That's
write
right.
it,
That's
feel
gonna be a
free.
goal.
You're your keeper.
It's called "The Apple Doesn't Fall Far from the Tree Unless You Kick It." And so I think that, and that's me included. Like I had to be kicked. Circumstances of life, people coming in and out of my life. You're not gonna fall far from your proverbial family tree unless circumstances or life events propel you away from that area. Now, some of us have great family trees, so you wouldn't want to be kicked far away from it. But you know, for many of us, you know, we have issues. Also, this Sunday, I want to say it was Pastor John Gray said this. I thought it was just genius. He said, what marriage does is it reveals to you the issues your partner has that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their genetics and their family history. That's what marriage does. So marriage
Okay, hold on.
reveals.
Okay, hold up.
One more time.
Rewind.
Marriage reveals
Write that down.
the issues that your spouse has that have nothing to do with you and everything to do with their family. And when I heard that, I said, that's amazing. Because that's what marriage, so when I, when Lori sees things emerge
This one over here.
from me, and, she probably goes, what is this about? It has nothing to do with her, it's some issues I have with my family. And I see certain things that she does, and I'll go, I didn't know, I'm like, what is this about? It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with her family. So I think genetics plays a big part into how we respond to circumstances, how we respond to trauma, crisis, how, do we believe we deserve success? And I also think it has a big part to play in our relationships, our levels of intimacy, our levels of trust, and our levels of acceptance of everything being all right. Some people have families that if everything is all right, if everything's going good, something bad is gonna happen. Instead of embracing the goodness.
You be like,
Right.
No, and that's, I think that's true.
come on up, Lori. Lori G, everybody. You're not gonna come up? What? Lori's over here, everyone, with commentary. She's having some concerns and.
Then she was doing the gasping for you.
I wonder too if it's a question of would I or would I not mentor this person based on their genetic makeup. Like I think when you meet a person and you're 5 minutes into a discussion, if you're asking the right questions, you can pretty much kind of like suss out if like, okay, there's insurmountable mental illness here or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, and like I'm not a clinical professional, so I wouldn't be able to like be as effective. You know what I mean? Or that might have to be coupled with the mentorship. And so maybe in that case, like I might have to know my limitations. And as an acting teacher, I teach acting, and so a lot of psychology and sociology kind of get mixed up into that. And so people will come up to you after class and kind of like almost deify you, like, oh, okay, well, can I do this in my personal life too? And I'm like, well, I'm not a medical professional, and so you're gonna have to talk to a medical professional about that, or you can talk to Lori. She's in the dean's office. She'll direct you to the right resources. But so I think. Other than anything like that, I'll be able to handle. Like I'll be able to, whatever your genetic makeup after that, beyond like my purview of expertise, I'd be able to take it on. That's what I would say.
Yeah, but it's interesting though. I mean, even though you have that same genetic makeup as some of your family members, you do have the good ones that will tell you, do as I say, not as I do. Right? And those are the ones that you really hope for, right? Because they know where they've been and where they've gone to. And they try to really make sure they give you that proverbial advice that says, don't do that, right? And be able to be that mentor in your life to say, hey, don't follow me. Don't follow what I've done. And for things that you talked about, behavior issues, drugs, whatever it is, really work with you to say, don't follow this path. Now you got some that say, hey, you know what, pick up everything that I've done, and you make it go even higher than I've been high.
And that stuff is strong too, right? Like that's a strong pull, right? Like addiction is hereditary and it's genetic, right? You're predisposed to drug addiction or alcoholism. And to this day, I haven't had any children because, like, who knows? Maybe I can pass that on. Man, I'm just like, well, what if I did? That would be terrible, So
You want to be someone's mentor, not their messiah. You want to be able to say, I'm your mentor in this area, but I'm not your messiah. I'm not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And so that takes away the pressure. If people are looking for you to be perfect, then you should mentor that person.
Have you ever had a mentee that became stalker-like? Any stalker-like scenarios?
I'm real good at kicking rocks. That's actually something I need to work on, is not being so elusive sometimes, but it's easy for me to say, say this situation is done, or this work is done, this phase is done.
But have you ever had a mentor that was like, they gave you a lot of good advice the whole time they were mentoring you, but then turned out to be the most rotten out? That's pretty trippy. Because you'd be like, man, they gave me good advice, but they were just, they were rotten to the core.
The message, not the person. I'm able to, so because of my experience with a pastor, I'm able to, and I actually told the pastor this to his face. And he was like, "What, are you crazy?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just being honest. I can hear a message from a pastor, and the next day, find out that the pastor was in a hotel with 6 prostitutes, and it wouldn't affect me."
6?
I'm like, because God is working through them. But they're still free moral agents. So I'm able to say, yeah, I'm not under you. I'm listening to the message. And so for me, because of what I went through, I can take the message, put that in my back pocket, and apply it to my life. And regardless of what you're doing, and last time I checked, none of us are perfect. Regardless of what you're doing, I can be okay. But there are people that are very fragile, and they need their mentor to be solid and stable. And so you do have to be, aware of the fact that you have people looking at you as an educator. I can't, when I go out, I can't do certain things because I know, what if I run into a former student, a colleague? Not that I want to do wild stuff, but I'm always mindful that, I don't want to, influence someone in a negative way.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm sitting there going, wow, and he was the best mentor, but rotten to the core. But he gave a lot of good sound advice, a lot of good, ideas, and he was actually a dream builder, but rotten to the core.
That's probably why he was successful. The brokers I used to work for, those were the ones that just were excelling.
Because a sociopath. They don't got any
That
empathy.
part right
There's
there.
no empathy.
That
No
part.
empathy. You get to excel because you stepping on everybody's back with football cleats.
Basically.
I used to see the world so black and white, like when I was younger, and it was much easier. Like I could cut people off and like cut you off, keep you. And it was just like, if someone like had, and I'm not saying that they had like a single flaw, but like if you did something like, that was like a deal breaker level, I would just cut you out, and I don't care who you were. And I just, like, I learned, I had to learn, and mentors let me down, it was eye-opening. And a friend actually, I'm thinking of a specific example where a mentor let me down, and this friend, she was like, she convinced me to, because then the mentor offered me, I stopped talking to that person just altogether, and then this person offered me another opportunity, like it was a good opportunity, and so I was talking to her about it. I was like, well, should I take it, should I not take it? She's like, you should take it. Why wouldn't you take it? It's a great opportunity, you should take it. And so I ended up taking it, but then I felt kind of like Judas, like buying the 40 pieces of silver or whatever it was, and so I had to reconcile that. I had to reconcile that, like I gotta delineate. Some people have great things to offer, but they don't have it all, Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Lori G. Hey. Gentlemen, I have so enjoyed listening to you this evening. But I have one question, I just couldn't be silent. You guys know I can never just be silent, right? And so you have so much good advice. The question I have for you is, if you could have a conversation with your younger self and give information, advice, and guidance, what would you say to the younger form of you?
That's a great one. Unless y'all wanna go first. I would say, top 3 things that come to my mind right now, first of all, I would teach them, this is how you shake hands and you don't ever look away. You look someone in their eye, you shake their hand, you look in their eye, number 1. Number 2, don't ever be afraid. You good, like, things are gonna happen, they're gonna scare you, danger is real, but fear is usually irrational, and whatever you're afraid of, you just move right on through that. It's gonna suck while you're going through it, it's gonna be terrible. You might experience some of the worst pain that you ever experienced in your life, and when you get through it, you can be stronger for it, you can be better for it. And then the next thing would be to take risks, don't play it safe. You gotta risk. I'm not saying be an idiot and don't like put yourself in danger, but I'm saying you gotta make risks, calculated risks, but you have to risk. And that's in relationships, that's in opportunities, that's in business, that's in school. You gotta risk. Because if you don't risk, and like love is a risk, it's an act of faith, And so I would say risk, those three things.
Awesome.
I would say, without, having the Back to the Future ability, like, don't mess with this person.
Don't mess with this
Yeah.
person.
Because I'll be afraid that
Is that
would
not
alter, huh?
We can't really do that.
I don't-
You alter your
so.
future, yeah.
But I would definitely tell my younger self to accept your calling. Don't worry about it, don't fight it, just accept your calling and understand that your purpose is unique. So, to you, your purpose is unique to you. So accept your calling from God. He's gonna take care of everything else. He takes care of everything else. Just accept your calling, do what he told you to do, why, the reason why you're on earth. That's why you're here.
Right.
And so accept that now, and he's gonna take care of everything else. And then I would also tell my younger self to fight with my gift. So anytime you're down, anytime you come upon opposition, pick up your slingshot, whatever that is, it's your gift, whatever your gift is, your slingshot, use it. So when you least feel like using it, that's when you should use it the most. When you're attacked, use your gift, use your gift, use your gift. And so, I think we all have an anointing, we are anointed in many different things that we're here to do. So accept your purpose, use it, and fight with your gift.
It's funny, I have to pull out pen and paper, because I wrote 20 things, but I only needed 3. But I think first and foremost, be more prayerful. I think if, the power of prayer is huge.
Yes.
Because it can get you through so much. But you know what, when you're young and you're troubled, or you're having issues, you don't pray. No, you don't. You think about what you can go tear down, or what you could, go do.
Just surviving that moment.
Yeah,
more or less,
exactly, versus being more prayerful. So I think first and foremost, I would tell myself that. I think the second one, both of you touched on, you are capable, no matter what anybody says, you're capable. You know what, you had teachers that were doubting you, you had people saying that you weren't gonna amount to nothing, because again, that's what society was trying to do. They wanted to tear us down.
True.
So that would be my second one. I think the third one's take more risk. You know what, I think everybody wants to, you want to look behind that curtain before you go into that room. You know what? Why? You know what? If you're prayerful and you're capable, you know what? Take that risk.
Yeah.
And I think, I think I've taken risks, but I think there's more risk that I couldn't take, and that probably would amount to something different.
Can I say 2 more things?
She said 3, not 5.
No, I'm just teasing. I would say, I've always been a hard worker, like just a very extremely hard worker. But I would say to my youngest self, I would say, work your ass off every single day. Work your hardest. Do your best always, because your best, other people will notice it. Other people will notice your best, and you'll be doing your best. And you, if you're doing your best every single day, you're gonna constantly get better.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, don't listen to the naysayers. You said that earlier. Don't listen to the naysayers. People are gonna tell you no. People are gonna tell you you can't do it. Or you're gonna see people around you who just can't do it, so they're telling you no by their example, Don't fucking listen to that shit. Like,
No.
please don't listen to it. Sorry.
No, I'm
This is the
Lloyd
internet.
G.
Yeah.
Again, there was so much powerful, exciting information. And at the early part of the conversation, you talked about, I think it was you, Jerome, who talked about getting advice from Eric about how to find a mentor. And here on the Poetry of Justice show, we really try to empower our listeners with information and guidance. So in our last few moments, if you have like a a little checklist of what people should do to try to find a mentor or approach a mentor, and whether or not any of you gentlemen would be willing to give out your handle information to serve as a mentor for some of our listeners.
Well, so when I told Jerome about a mentor, I think we addressed it from a couple of different perspectives. You know, the one thing I found is in society, in the work environment, you're gonna, because we're black men, we're gonna be picked upon. So I said, use a mentor as a way to shield yourself, right? Because usually when you find out that somebody's being mentored by somebody of some type of significant, people back off,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? So that was the one thing we connected on. But then I think when we start talking about life and where you wanna go, the thought was, to your point, was making sure that you find somebody that's gonna mentor you, but you make sure you take the most advantage of their time. And that was really about saying, look, if you go to them and meet them on their playing field, which is, hey, I'm not gonna impact a lot of your time, I'm gonna be as flexible as you're gonna need to be, and you know what, when I come to you, I'm gonna come to you with some very 2 or 3 pointed bullet points that are gonna address some things I need to get answered, and we're gonna be able to be in and out of this in about 30 minutes.
Right.
You know what, people don't feel threatened by that, right? Cause they're saying, whew, it's not a lot of time, this person's not gonna wanna live with me.
Right.
Yeah.
But really take the time to say, what do you wanna get out of this relationship, right? Because you want something, and what you'll start finding out is that as they're giving it, they're wanting to give you more, right? And they're wanting to become more than just a mentor, they wanna become a friend. They wanna become somebody that can help you succeed in life, give you open those doors, that doors have been normally closed for you.
Yeah.
So those are just some things that we touched on. I mean, I think I try to do that with a lot of different people, just try to say, look, I've had some of those things in my career that have helped me get here. So let me continue to give them back. And Jerome,
I would say, don't be an ask-hole. Don't be a person that asks a lot of questions and then don't do anything. So faith without works is dead. So Eric is a very kind man, very benevolent man. But if he was giving me advice and I wasn't acting upon it, we're done. Why does he need to keep mentoring me in any area if he does not see me have action upon what he said? We're done. We don't need to reconvene until he sees that part done. So thankfully, my wife, me being married to a smart woman, I acted upon his advice, and thus he's open, and so it's that give and take to say, okay, you're actually doing something with it. So don't be an ask-hole, and make sure that you are acting upon their advice. Otherwise, you're wasting their time and your time.
Takes me to Matthew 7:6. Do not give that which is holy to dogs, and do not cast your pearls before swine, because they will trample over the pearls and then turn around and attack you. That's powerful. I keep that on my desk, because I have to remember, as being a giver,
Yeah. Well, it's your blessing and your curse, right?
it absolutely
It's
is,
a
and so we got a
double-edged sword.
teeter, remember that teeter totter we talked about?
Yeah.
It's like, whoosh.
You gotta be able, yeah, you gotta be able to spot that, right? Like who's a giver, who's a taker? Cause you know, if you get.
There's a lot of baiters in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Phil talked about it.
Oh.
It's Dr. Phil life coach.
And you know it's true.
No, you already know, I had everybody read that shit. I did, Dr. Phil, shout out. Okay, what you gonna say, Jay?
I was gonna say, if someone's kind to you, there's probably a reason, follow up on that, you know? If someone's good to you, there's probably a reason, follow up on that. There's always a way to ask for something, right? Like if you're going to initiate a relationship of any kind, I think know your why, know your what, know your how, right? Your details, so that way we're clear about what this relationship is, and then let it evolve into whatever it's going to be, you know? And then I would also say, learn as much as you possibly can from every single experience. Be a sponge in every experience, especially the bad experiences, right? I mean, I had to scrub toilet bowls with toothbrushes when I was in the fire academy, you know, just like, and like around the rim of the urinal. I mean, it was, you know, and I'm not saying that's the worst stuff that I've ever done, but that I learned something from that, and that built character, you know. And I think if you can't do stuff like that, then you may not find something about yourself that you're gonna need at a certain point that's going to help you get out of a jam or overcome an obstacle or whatever, because you didn't have that knowledge of self, you know. And I think, you know, getting rid of your ego is like key. You got an ego, jettison it, leave it at the door, you know, and always be on time. I would say that. Yeah.
Welcome to Hollywood. If you're on time, you're late.
To be on time is to be late. To be early is to be on time.
There you go.
Yeah. That's
What's
Gil
go time?
Cates.
What's go time? Go time.
Gil Cates told me that.
Yeah. It works. I have a question. Guys, I'm looking at the clock. It looks like we're almost out of time. But this is one thing I wanted to ask, if I can throw it in there real quickly, Eric. Whose responsibility, the mentor or the mentee, and how often? How often?
It's the mentee's responsibility. But the thought is, you know what? Try to get as much as you can, but what you do is you get that as you earn it, right? You earn that.
Okay.
Because what happens to, like Jeremiah's point, if you're there early and you're thirsting for knowledge, he's gonna see that, or she's gonna see that.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna say, you know what, let's not wait next quarter. You know what, check in with me in 1 month. You know,
That's
so there's an opportunity there to be as much and as broad as you want, but you've gotta earn it.
You guys coming back?
Yeah,
Definitely.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
So it is we're done here on the Poetry of Justice show with Jackie Ray Phillips here on YikesRadio.com.
Thank you.
Score. Thank you, guys. Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh, great job.
And you can put our info up on your group or whatever, your
Yeah, we
Facebook.
can do it right now.
We should
Okay, we
start
can do
a
it.
podcast.
Oh, you should do a podcast.
Oh, you guys, yeah. You mean
Yeah.
you guys, the Brotherhood?
You did, Joy.
Oh,